Hi everybody, this is Cheryl, and I wanted to talk to you today about preparing for storms. We've had a lot of bad weather lately, and we've had some storms that touched down fairly close to us. It wasn't in our area, but they were close enough that it got me to thinking that maybe I should share what we did to prepare in case of a storm. Now we deal with a lot of tornadoes around here, so for us, we live in a trailer park, in a trailer, and for us, we would have to go to the Publix shelter. Our trailer park does not have a shelter, so I would definitely be taking some things with me. Depending on the outcome of the storm would determine what you would need in the long term, but I'm prepared for whether we have a storm that just passes us by and we don't have anything happen, or light damage or even severe damage. I'm prepared, but a lot of people are not. Now there's three main things that you need in case of emergency. Number 1 is water, number 2 is food, and number 3 is shelter. Now there's more that you need, but those are the basics that you need. Now in our case, since we are going to a public shelter, if something was to happen to our trailer or our trailer park, we would at least be at the shelter. We would be in someplace safe. I do have another place we can go, but if we couldn't go back home, we would be helped at the shelter. As far as water goes, there's a lot of good channels out there that talks about storage of water. We do have about a month's worth of water stored up. I'm working on a 3-month supply now. I'm slowly getting there. But each one of us would be taking a jug of water with us, plus we would be taking water for our pets. Look up some of those channels that do that kind of stuff. Right now am not going into water storage and all that. But that's one of the things that you need to check into is water, and purifying water, filtering water, storing water, this kind of stuff. Then the second thing is food. Because we are going to a shelter, I'm not going to be taking things with me that I'm going to be cooking. We'll be taking things with us like little cans of Beanie Weenies or tuna and peanut butter with crackers, or granola bars. Things like that we can eat to get us by. After the storm, if we get to come back home, we might not have power. So I've got food on hand stored that will allow me to cook meals. And I'll do another video later about cooking food when you don't have any power, what you can do and that kind of thing. And I'll get into that another time. But in the meantime, just for this video, what we have in our storm bag is foods that we can eat, just without cooking, or, just kind of tide us over until we get something else. As far as our bag goes, after the food and the water, then I started thinking about, what else would I need? So what I did was I started making a list, and it took me a couple of days to go through the list, and everything I used from the time I got up until I went to bed, everything I used went on my list. And I done this for a couple of days. And then I done a walkthrough of my entire house, and I looked at everything and I thought, is that something I would need, or is that something I could leave behind? If I needed it, it went on that list. And then I used this list to build our bag. Now every bag is different because every person needs something different. So you need to personalize a bag for every member of your family. The number one thing on the list, hygienic items. What do you use when you get up and you get ready? Everything that you use, you should buy 2 of. And put the second one in a bag and put it in your storm bag or your emergency bag or whatever. That way you have on hand what you use, okay? And I did that for each one of us, and that way each one of us had on hand what we needed for, hygienic items. The other thing was medicines. Now, all I take is over-the-counter medications, but I do take some. And also vitamins. I done the same thing with my over-the-counter medications as I did my hygienic items. I bought 2. I put 1 in a bag. I put 1 that I use every day. That way I have my medications. Now, my son is on prescription medications. And with his, I keep it in a bag all the time. And when we start having the storms roll in or whatever, his bag of medications goes in our storm bag. So we know that we have it, it's ready to go, we don't have to worry about it. And that way, if you need a pain reliever, you need an antacid or whatever, you have it on hand. His medications are in the bag. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, so you get to the storm shelter, you've had the storm, it's blown over. A lot of the storms we have is in the summer. We are wearing shorts, tank tops, sandals. We're not dressed for cool weather. Guess what? After the storm, it's going to get cool. So you want to have on hand some things that'll help keep you warm. Number 1, a blanket. I have a blanket for each person because you may have to spend the night at the shelter. You have a blanket. You use your bag for a pillow, and you have a blanket. It'll also help keep you warm, when those temperatures drop. The other thing, a jacket. Everyone has a jacket. When you're wearing shorts and a tank top and the storm's over and the temperature has dropped, you're going to appreciate that jacket. And along with that, I included sweatpants and a sweatshirt and shoes and socks, okay? Now, you can put in each person's bag whatever they choose, as far as that kind of stuff goes. But at least have a change of clothes and some good shoes, okay? And some socks so that, if you need to, you will have warm clothing or at least have a change of clothing, okay? Now, you get back home and you found that the storm's over, but everything survived, but you don't have power. Okay, the first thing you want to think about, lighting, flashlights, lanterns, and spare batteries, okay? You don't want to be caught, without batteries for your lights. Candles, matches, lighters, you need some kind of lighting. So if you are without power, then at least you'll have some lighting. And I'm going to talk more about that kind of stuff later on down the road, but you need to take into consideration that if your power is out, you may have trouble with sewage, the sanitation aspect of it, or you may even have to be concerned about your water. So, take those things into consideration when you are preparing your bag, and, take into consideration that the power might be out long enough that it might affect your water. It might affect your sewer system. So you need to think about those things. What are you going to do? Think about it. Find out what could be affected and what you need to prepare for. The other thing that you need to have on hand every day, regardless, that you do need to include in your storm bag, first aid kit. Everybody needs one every day. I mean, now I'm not saying that we have to have something out of our first aid kit every day, but just, you never know. You never know when someone's going to get a cut or, a scratch or something that needs to be taken care of. And especially after the storm, you don't know who's going to need some help. So have first aid kit on hand. Now, this is certainly not my big trauma pack or anything like that. It's just simple first aid kit. I bought it at Walmart for like $10, and I restock it as I need to from the dollar store. But, it just has basic supplies in there. But have one on hand, Later on, I will do more videos about first aid kits, about cooking when the power's out. Lighting, I have some tips I want to share about lighting, those kinds of things, but it's things you need to think about. Now, when a storm comes in, there are some things that you're not going to have in your storm bag. One of them is your electronics. My son has a case for his laptops, and when the storm comes in, that's what we grab at the last minute, his laptops and the cords that go with it. The other thing is we make sure our phones are charged. And I put all of our chargers in this little bag. When our phones are charged and our tablets are charged or whatever that we need to grab, we put the chargers in a bag and the tablets, the phones, whatever, we put them in our storm bag so that we make sure that we have what we need on hand when the storm is over and we're able to go back home. So that's one of the last minute things that you want to grab. Now, something we don't have to worry about, but I would like to touch on, is people that are on medications that their medication has to be refrigerated and your power goes down. You've weathered the storm and you've gotten back home, but your power's out. One of the things that you can do is have a cooler, close to somewhere in your kitchen, close to your refrigerator, or close at hand. Freeze you some water bottles or some water jugs, like the smaller juice bottles or something. Freeze some jugs and have them in your freezer. And excuse me, and if a storm comes in and you have to take your medication with you, you can put those jugs into your cooler with your medication, and that's going to keep your medication cool long enough that until you can get them in proper refrigeration or whatever. But those big chunks of ice that's in those jugs, it's going to take a while for them to melt. So it's going to keep your cooler cool enough that it's going to keep your medication safe. When the power goes out, you can do the same thing. If you arrive back home and you find that you have no power, well, guess what? You've got your little portable refrigerator right there with your ice packs or your frozen jugs or whatever, and your medication's safe for a while. You don't want to rely on it completely, but it will at least help with, at least until you can get better refrigeration. So, think about those things. I hope this helps. It's not a whole lot, but I know it's what my family needs to get us through. And, I have other preps. I have other things I do, for bigger scenarios or whatever. But this is all about surviving the storm and getting through until, you can get back to normal life. You all have a nice day. You all stay safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.